Forgive me, please. Go. Any questions? Please raise a digital hand. Bail is in the control room. Chesky, even if you're here, he said he might come in the middle. Tough luck. It's over. Bail is in the control room. That's it. Go ahead, please. Mrs. Barkani, thank you very much. Any
My
questions?
pleasure. I don't see any digital hands up, but you want to talk about that email that you got today until we have hands, or no?
Sure, that's fine. So the question was about about what to do if your children are negotiating with you, and I'll look up the exact text if you just bear with me for a moment. And that was basically the question about that the kids are they're smoking, and when they got concerned about it, the kid says that, well, the nicotine in the jewel, he doesn't feel as healthy. So he wanted to know if he can go to an ecig that uses a much lower, nicotine levels, and should he pay for it? I would, whomever the parent is, obviously it's confidential, but whomever that parent is, I think if you listen to the talk, you'd probably say that Horowitz would say that it's a good investment. This is part of the third category, really. And if a child is saying, they might not mean it, they might be just saying this, to spin you, but in all likelihood, it is a reasonable thing. It really goes with that same philosophy of having alcohol at home, of putting things in front of you. The same thing, if you remember with technology, I kept saying that if the kids are old enough at a point where they're going to do it on their own, then let them do it in front of you with supervision. So this is part of it. It's a supervision thing, and I think the parents are much better off. Negotiating with the kid, talk to them about it. Maybe you don't want to pay for all of it; you pay for 2/3 or a half or whatever. But you stay in the game this way, and you're able to respond better. Folks, any questions, please?
Okay, the name is Dina.
Go ahead, Dina. Is she unmuted?
I'm trying to, I think we're doing it at the same time. Dina, I'm going to unmute you. There you go.
I see Dina, her hand is up. Is she mute? She's unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yes, Dina, go ahead, please.
Okay, this is Michael with Dina.
Hi, Michael, how are you?
Hi, good. So, Roxanne, thank you so much for this talk. So my question is in regard to, I think our son might be a little bit more the life category as opposed to the religion. And over the years, he's picked up a lot of an appreciation for a lot of the media sources and TV and movies and music that we spend so much time trying to not have be part of our household.
Right.
And I think he knows that, like, we both come from backgrounds where we were part of that, but we've moved away from that. And every time, not every time, but many times, he will approach me and he'll start asking me, start trying to drum up a conversation about some of these things in order to, like, talk to me
about the movies that he's watching or the music that he's listening to.
Right. In order to try to, and I feel that he's starved for some, like, he's trying to get a connection point on it. And usually I'll just answer with, kind of like, I don't shut it down, but I don't really continue the conversation. I'm wondering am I doing him a disservice by not actually engaging him in it with him, and maybe even, saying, all right, you're watching Netflix, let's watch something together. But at the same time, I'm very concerned about how I've spent so much time trying to distance myself away from these things because I know the effect that it had on me from such an early time in my life. And, that's what I'm looking for, the balance in that.
Kala kavod for bringing it up. I know it's not easy to talk about in public or even in private. So kala kavod to you. I'm glad he's talking to you about it. That's a very good sign. I absolutely would encourage you to spend more time talking to him about it, if that's what he's comfortable, if that's what he likes talking about. More likely, I don't know if you, a week or two ago, I was mentioning that, I never went to yeshiva. I was an 8th grade Rebbe for 15 years. I never went to yeshiva without reading the sports section first. Okay. Even at a time when I was right after my wedding, I was really, before the kids grew up, I spent a lot of time learning, which it's, whatever. It wasn't something that was natural to me to just take the paper and read it. But that's what my kids wanted to talk about. It's not exactly the same, but anything that you could do to build your relationship with him is an absolute thumbs up for me. That's what I would say. Now, what age is he compared to you? Are the other children? What age? Because it makes a difference.
He's the second of five, second oldest of five. But the other boys are like, Stark Yeshiva boys. But I have an 11-year-old who's much more impressionable, and he also kind of, sometimes sees himself a little bit like him, even though not necessarily. I think like sometimes kids at that age seem to try to like fit themselves into a box,
Right.
and just say, oh, I guess I'm kind of like him, It's like, the four sons syndrome. Oh, well, he's the Chacham and he's the Tom. I guess I must be the role of the Russia kind of thing.
Yeah, right. So I don't think. Look, I think kids generally get it when we wind up doing things like this. I imagine growing up in your home, your 11-year-old doesn't think that this is something that you'd naturally do on a weekend, to sit and schmooze about movies or whatever it is. They understand that you're making accommodations because your child needs it, especially if it's Azumet HaChaim. I would encourage you, look, as comfortable as you are with it, in all likelihood, you're not going to spend, he's not going to come with you to a share, right? And he's not going to come to your world right now. So you go to his. And did you ever see the picture of Rabbi Lev from Eretz Yisrael at the soccer game?
Yeah.
Did you see my Mefarshim? I posted up a clip. For those who don't know, Rabbi Lev is a tremendous Talmid Chacham, and he was on Israeli television. He was visiting his kids in the UK, and they had a big soccer game. The Israeli team was playing against one of the English teams, one of the British teams, and he went along and he was learning the whole time. He had a sefer in his hand. There was like a grandchild sitting on his lap, and he was learning. And the camera zoomed in on him, and the Israeli guy, the TV station made a whole joke about it. How come we lost? He was davening for us. It was a whole big thing. And I took the clip and I wrote that here is the man. I mean, I'm speaking directly to you. I think it does speak to, it's not the same, but it's similar. He said, this is somebody that went outside his comfort zone to hang out with his grandchildren. And one of the TV stations, if you look on my YouTube channel, the clip is there. They interviewed his daughter and son-in-law, and she says, "Oh, my father's never without a sefer." So he said that the kids wanted to go to the game, and they were like going on their way, and they asked Bobby Zaidi, "Can you come?" But Grandpa, could you come? And he said, "Yeah, sure, yeah." He took along his thing, and he got. So Rabbi Lev, so I ended off my piece by saying that if everybody did what this grandfather did, I could close up shop and go full-time in kollel or full-time golfing, whatever. I could drop what I do if all parents and grandparents did what he did. And Rabbi Lev, he spoke to his shul the next week, and he mentioned what I said, so I felt good. He met among other things. But you're going outside your comfort zone. I'm sure it will be greatly appreciated. And Maslow would tell you to do it for sure. I think Rav Shmuel would also.
So he mentions a comedian to me, so I should actually take some time out. Let's watch some of it together.
If you're comfortable, if it's too raunchy, it's okay if you stop in the middle and you say, "Look, sweetheart, I'm really enjoying this, but this is a little bit much for me. Please forgive me." And maybe he'll ask him if he can look stuff over beforehand. You'll figure it out. He knows you're letting him know what you're about. I think you should have boundaries at some point. I think he'll probably think it's a little weird if you're getting into something that's way out of your comfort zone. Figure it out. You'll negotiate it out. You'll say, "Look, maybe you want to." You'll figure it out. You don't need me. You're good. Okay, that's Lacha. Good luck.
We have Zohar Ben Kluch.
Yeah, hi. My question is like this. You mentioned always, and I read it a lot about teens and the whole off the derech thing, how you always have to love, love, always love them, accept them, and all that thing, which is beautiful, and it's really nice, and that's what you want ultimately, the goal, to have love and caring in a family. You want someone to feel belonged. But in the end of the day, bottom line, in the day-to-day, you still have a house to run. You still have to, insist on rules. You still need respect. You can't just like abandon the whole thing. I feel like it's a really fine line, and to find that balance between, having them feel loved. And a lot of times, if you insist on certain rules and certain things, then they hate you, and it's hostile, and it's like, it doesn't feel love anymore. But you have to insist. You can't just let kids disrespect you all day. You can't just let someone smoke marijuana all day or play their game all day. It's not something you can allow as a parent. It's not responsible as a parent. On the other hand, love, 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 but it just doesn't work together. It's kind of contradictory, because the kids don't see it like that, and it just snowballs into very stressful situations. So
I think a good thing would be, the truth is I should have mentioned this. I didn't. I should have, about setting house rules, which is usually what I do tell parents, that it's helpful if you set up house rules with the kids, where you talk about, what they should do in their room, and what they you try to make up a set. Let's say the kid's not keeping Shabbat, and you have, so you make a rule with them. Look, please, in your room, respectfully. So you work something out. If there's something that you're not comfortable about, I think you're much better off, rather than issuing rules. If you can, sit down and try to negotiate something out with them. Say, look, you know what our house is all about, and try to work it out. Try to work it out with them. If you can only go as far as you can go. I can only tell you what works. And the reason I didn't mention that is because I didn't mean not to, but I usually, when I speak to people, I do say that, but I lean more towards the love part, because that's what works. Ultimately, if you ask me what the greatest likelihood that at the very least, has wholesome, healthy adults, and certainly more than that, even on a very, on a very selfish, I don't mean selfish like that, but you're much more likely to have them embrace religion, come back slowly to religion, or at least have a better attitude to religion if you take that way. So try to find some balance. If you're not comfortable, speak up, sit down and talk it out. Maybe you can work something out. Okay?
I don't see any other hands up.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
Aviva.
Okay, Aviva, go.
Unmute. This is just an observation, and I'm kind of putting together some things. I've seen adults who have been who have severe drinking vices, and not surprisingly, later I've seen their children adopt similar vices. Now I know my child is not, in that peer group yet, but like, again, given that it's like a cardinal rule not to say anything negative about a peer group, I guess, what's the conversation that, like, I'm not articulating this well, but like, what about their parents? Like, how do you,
What about you? What? I'm sorry.
can you, like, when you have the conversation with your child, right, about,
Right.
I guess, is it the same cardinal rule not to say anything about where their parents have gone, or what their parents are, like,
You could say something more general, like listen, homes have different cultures and what they do. How we feel about this. You were raised a certain way. It's okay if you say that, and it's okay if you talk. Let's say that he's with some friends who are drinking, and you're concerned. So you could just say, listen, we really want you to be responsible, and you have a conversation. It doesn't always mean that they'll listen right away. In all likelihood, they won't. But you should say what you say without nagging, but you should say what you say. You should talk to them about it. You don't need to make it personal about those boys or about the parents. you should talk about it rather than, I think that is a helpful thing to do. I think you should speak about the it and about drinking and sobriety. It so happens, I have not seen research on this, but in my experience, when there's an alcoholic parent, sometimes the kids run away from it like the plague. Sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes when there is a vice in a family and the children grow up seeing what it looks like, sometimes that really, will keep them from it. Sometimes not, but it's not always.
I think that I've seen that too, but I've also seen where it was symptomatic of something much deeper that was going on in the family, and the kid was using it to numb. They were numbing themselves.
Right. Dr. Twersky Jr. said, Rabbi Tzion, who's my age, he always says that it's not only how much they're drinking, it's why they're drinking. And if you have someone in your family that's addicted or a child that's addicted, go to Al-Anon meetings, learn about a codependency. And are you familiar with the terms, with enabling?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so read up about it and become aware of it, because there is a very counterintuitive dynamic between an addict and his or her family. So it's something you might want to learn about. Okay, I'm going to be a rabbi and say my Dvar Torah. One of them.
You have one question from Yonina first?
That comes before Dvar Torah any day of the week. Go ahead, yes.
Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to thank you because I feel like, there's a big difference between the way that most of us were raised and the way that we're trying to raise our teenagers. And I think sometimes, and just sort of that sense of like, our parents tried to control us and it kind of basically worked pretty well. It wasn't great, but it kind of, most of us came out pretty sane. And I think that when we, I think this has been a really amazing resource to be able to listen to and review, to have just a totally different way of looking at what the goal is and what we're trying to accomplish, in order to help our kids be healthy adults in the best way possible, as opposed to sort of just, doing what we want them to do right now, which just two different directions and two different goals. The one question that I'm trying to figure out, and I don't know if I can articulate it, but sometimes in my attempt to kind of really accept the child and listen to the child, sometimes I feel like you kind of can almost empower innocently, like I just want to hear the child and I want to accept the child and I understand the child is struggling, but I don't want to empower the negative that a teenager typically gets stuck in. Okay. So how do you sort of find that balance between like, I want to listen to you and I hear you're struggling and I appreciate that, but like some of it's just their little drama in their head, and then sometimes I find sometimes it gets worse and sometimes it gets better, and I can't figure out exactly what the angle is.
There is no figuring out. You probably,
okay.
A good practice is to go back and forth, between that. But we ran a mentoring program for many years, and one of the things that in the training we would do is we would tell the mentors not to get into the sandbox with the kid that they're trying to mentor. Not to, and a lot of times they schlep you into whatever they're into. So it is a balance. It is a balance. You're not so. David Lichtenstein interviewed, my wife and I took an interview together. It was the first time we did it in our life for that it was a Vayichan program that Yeshivat HaKotel ran before Shavuos. And I was talking about the difference between the two parenting styles that you're describing. My Rabbeim and Yeshiva didn't do timeout. That was a timeout, So anyway, so David said, "You mean you should be friendly with the children?" It was so funny, and we both cracked up. My wife and I both laughed. Are you kidding? She said, we both said, like, they have enough friends. They'll think we're weird if we want to be their friends. It was funny. We both said it at the same moment. We both cracked up and said, "Are you kidding? They don't need friends. We're parents. We're not supposed to be their friends, but we're supposed to listen and be friendly and make ourselves available." So it's a balance. It's not, there is no right way. It's like you sail, when you're sailing, they have, you go this way and that way, and you try to find a little bit of balance there. That's what you do. That's what you do. Okay.
So it's just a normal process of just kind of trying to.
Normal process. It really is. It's like too much milk, too much cereal, you you wind up doing that a little bit too much cereal. And it's the yin and yang of a relationship with an adolescent. It comes normal, and you wind up at times thinking to yourself, like, I'm carrying beer out of a store. Are you kidding me? When my son comes over and says, oh, this summer ale, it's fabulous because it has more ballast. I mean, whatever, But that's what they want to talk about. So it's this. That's exactly.
Okay, thank you.
You don't want to have both feet in this handbox. That way. So I think what you're describing is pretty right.
Thank you.
Two things before I give you Vatara. I started doing parenting classes in 1996, and I started doing child abuse prevention classes in 20, whatever, about 12, 15 years ago. And at the time, those were things that weren't done. Just nobody did it. And I just felt it was something that was so important. And I think that this experience that we've had for the 7 nights, I'm going to ask you to be ambassadors, because this is how change happens. I know from our conversations and discussions that that many of you have found it very helpful and really get you, like you said, thinking differently about what you're doing. I would ask you, share it with your friends. If you have courage, make a 1-minute clip. Speak about the classes, put it on your social media, say we classes, they're on YouTube. It really helped us, but nothing generic. Say it helped us in thinking about these areas, about how to mentor our children, about how to deal with whatever, about how to stay in the game. If you're up to it, send me, put it up, tag me on it. I really would like to get the message out to a lot more people. I'm glad we did it this way. I've been wanting to do this. Michael Stein's been after me. I forgot to thank Michael and Estelle. Thank you for sponsoring the program. But I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, but I think that because the nature of technology today, we really could make a revolution in a good way and get parents thinking about this, So I would ask you again, put it on your social media, link to the YouTube videos, but not about me, about it, about encouraging people to think about spending time, quality time, thinking about their parenting and reflecting and learning about it. The second thing is, I can't announce it now because I'm going to send, I have all your email addresses from the registration. I'm going to send you, hopefully I'll have developed before, maybe even tomorrow, if not before Shabbos, a digital platform where you can share. I'm not giving out to the public yet, where you'll be able to post questions. I know many of you try to get in touch with me and I just don't have the time for it. I'm willing to explore it this way, where you could post questions either with or without. You have to register, to set it, but you can use not your own name if you're not comfortable putting your own name in, and we could continue discussions. We have a common language already. So feel free to I'll send you links. I'll send you links to it. Hopefully it might be set up as early as tomorrow. And one final thing is absolutely no obligation whatsoever. If you have charity money that you're looking to put to a good cause, I'll send you a link to support the work we're doing. It's always been my dream to really make this type of parent education much more normalized. I would love to do this with. I wanted to make a class for young couples when they get married, and if I had my druthers before, when people put kids in 5th grade, they should go to school should make it mandatory that they have a 10-hour class like this. So if this is something you're interested in supporting the work we're doing, I'll send you a link to it. I'm going to leave with a final thought on Chamol Masacha. It was very, because of my experiences dealing with, volunteering and with recovery programs for my wife and I have been doing this for 8 years. And it caused me to think about the davening differently, especially Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, when I'm with the folks. Many parts of davening spoke very differently to me when you think about tshuva and connecting with Hashem. And there was one thought that was really that was puzzling to me. Now we say in davening, Chamol al Masecha. I'll go to shared screen for a second. In davening we say Chamol al Masecha, have pity on your, we ask Hashem to have pity on here. Chamol al Masecha, have pity on your creations. V'sismach b'masecha, and be happy with your creation. So chamol is the lowest form. It's I'm not worthy of what I'm asking you to do, but have pity on me. That's like the lowest level. You don't say I'm worthy of it. Someone comes to your front door if it's stuck and starts arguing with you. You have to give me this and this. You know how it turns you off. Somebody says, "Look, I'm hungry. I need," it's a much better. It's a better argument. So we ask Hashem, chamol masecha, have pity on us. Then we say, v'sismach b'masecha. I want you to be happy with us. Now, in my book, that's a pretty big jump. So that's a pretty big jump. All of a sudden, we're going to asking Hashem, please spare my life, and I want you to be happy with me. Now, we say that right after Musaf, right? And Musaf, right after Kedusha, when we go into davening, that's when we say, Chamol masecha v'sismach masecha. And I was looking at it on Yom Kippur a couple of years ago, and I said, this is really bizarre. From Chamol to Sismach right away, Hashem, be happy with me after I just begged you for my life. And I thought of a story that happened, a true story, that happened with one of my students many, many years ago. And I'm speaking to you as parents, along the theme of tonight. So what happened was there was a couple, a student of mine many years ago was having marital problems, and they came to our home here to study here in Muncie for a few times to talk things over with it. And one of the big things was that both the husband and the wife were kind of rebellious growing up. They were 3-4 cliques to the left of their parents. And after they were married, they had two children. They had 2 beautiful young children. And the wife was nagging the husband. He said nagging, she said asking, that he should take a haircut, and he should, go to daven more, and he should, sing Zmiris at the table, at the Shabbos table. She was really driving him insane with constantly asking him the same things. So they came over to the house, and it was really causing a lot of friction in the house. So I asked her if she would mind staying in my study. I went for a walk with my Talmud here on the block. And I remember I turned the corner, and I said, when I was Yankee, I said, Yankee, what are you making crazy about the haircut? You're 30 years old. You're going to be bald soon. What's the matter with you? Take a stupid haircut. What's the matter with you? So he looked at me and he said like this. He said, Rebbe, I know that I need to get better, because what the backstory was that when they were dating, I told him, if you don't want to be religious, then say you don't want to be religious and find a woman that wants a non-religious husband. Don't fool somebody. If you want to settle down one day, then look for somebody who wants to settle down. That's what I told, was my advice to him. So he says, you remember, Rebbe, I told you that I want to settle down. And he says, I want to do it. But when she looks at me like that, he used some street term for how she made him feel. When she looks at me like I'm a pig, whatever. He said, I see myself through her eyes and I can't get better. That was the exact quote that he told me. He said, I see myself through her eyes and she looks at me like I'm worthless. I can't get better because she looks at me like that. She's going to have to take me for who I am. I'll get better right away. But she just has to right now. I can't do it. He said, I wish I could. And he tells me I'm upset at myself that I can't, but I just can't. I see myself through her eyes. So I asked him to wait outside. I sat down with the woman. We were in and out of the study. And so I told this woman, I said, listen, my recommendation is that you accept him for who he is. And I said, my prediction is if you don't, your marriage is going to be over very soon. You told me he's a great husband. You told me he's a great father. This stuff makes you crazy. So what do you have to lose? Just accept him for who he is. If it doesn't work, you can get divorced in 6 months. I said, but if you don't do this, my prediction is, I hope I'm wrong, you're going to get divorced and he's going to date afterwards and he's just going to look for someone who accepts him as he is. And 2 months after his second marriage, he's going to be everything you wanted and then some. Why shouldn't it be with you? And she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. and they got divorced. They had, just like that, they got divorced, he remarried, and he became really what she wanted, and then some. So this is my taich. Look at the words here. That this is my interpretation. Looking around the room there, Chamol al Masecha, my question was, how did you jump to happiness right away? So we ask Hashem, have mercy on us. But then we say, you know, it's Rosh Hashanah, it's Yom Kippur. We want to become better people. Hashem, you're going to have to love me just the way I am. Don't look at me like that, Hashem. I want to feel your love. I want to know that you're happy with me. And if you look later, it's beautiful. Tuktash Adon, look at Tuktash Adon, Al Kol Masecha. We ask Hashem that he should make holy all of his creatures, including me. Ki na'eh l'kadosh pe'emer kedoshim. Na'eh, it's appropriate for a holy one, you God, to be praised by holy people. So I want to become holy, Hashem. I need you to love me the way I am. I want you to be happy with me right now, not by Nila, after I do tshuva. I want you to be happy with me right now. That's my interpretation of why we say the sismach b'masecha. It's a tefillah that we should feel Hashem's love, and it will help us do tshuva. And that, you know, the two of the people who were asking those questions about their children and what we spoke about, I think in addition to everything else, that being happy with your children, what Eli Wiesel's son said, just be, that's what he was telling him. I love you just the way you are. And that bedrock is often what really lets the kids become better. So this has been a wonderful experience. I really had a lovely time. I'll be in touch by email. I'll let you know. Bela, thank you very much. And thank you, Michael and Estelle Stein, for the series. And we'll be in touch. Hopefully, I'll be able to set up this platform so we can communicate with each other. And I'd love to see your 1-minute clips. Thanks so much. My biggest bracha, for a heartfelt bracha for nachas from your children. And I really hope that you found it helpful. Thanks so much. Good night, everyone.